An Imaginary Life is a 1978 historical fiction novella by Australian author David Malouf. Set in the 1st century AD on the outskirts of Rome, the story follows the Roman poet Ovid and how his unexpected exile to a barbarian land transforms his perception of nature, civilization, and the deep connection between place and perspective. The novel explores themes of acceptance, banishment, belonging, cultural tolerance, environmental dependency, death, rebirth, and, most profoundly, metamorphosis. It is often regarded as a work of post-colonial literature, with the ancient Roman Empire serving as a metaphor for modern-day Australia, a recurring motif in Malouf's work. Told in the first person by Publius Ovidius Naso, or Ovid, the infamous and refined poet of imperial Rome, the novel begins with his lament over being exiled to the desolate commune of Tomis, located on the edge of the Roman Empire by the Black Sea. Cut off from his native language and unable to communicate with the locals, Ovid must learn to survive in a world entirely different from his own. This process of adaptation forces him to abandon the constraints of Latin and embrace the simplicity and purity of nature. Malouf's poetic prose mirrors Ovid's own literary style, emphasizing the importance of living in harmony with nature and embracing cultural differences as a way of broadening one's perspective on life. In the first chapter, Ovid's arrival in Tomis marks the beginning of his journey. He is taken in by the Getae, a native tribe living on the edge of the Roman world. Initially, Ovid feels frustrated and isolated, alienated by both his barren surroundings and his inability to speak Latin. Over time, however, he begins to adapt to the Getae's way of life. A single poppy in bloom rekindles his connection to nature, and he takes joy in performing simple village tasks like gardening. As Ovid starts to learn the Getae language, he realizes that while it lacks the complexity of Latin, it is built on a deep sense of cosmic unity, binding people together rather than dividing them. Through this process, Ovid forms a close bond with Ryzak, the village leader, and joins him on a deer hunting trip. During this journey, Ovid encounters a mysterious wild child, a feral boy who has grown up in the wilderness, embodying the untamed spirit of nature itself. The natives believe that the child's soul is possessed by a demonic spirit and wish to hunt him down. However, Ovid seeks to befriend the child and integrate him into the tribe for observation. The natives oppose this idea, fearing that the child will transform into a werewolf and terrorize the village. Eventually, Ryzak agrees to let the child stay with Ovid, but the child's ominous presence stirs suspicion. Ryzak's elderly mother and the town shaman continue to oppose Ovid's decision. The only one who is willing to help the child is Ryzak's unnamed daughter-in-law, who attempts to cure him. Soon after, Ryzak's grandson Lulo begins having strange seizures, which the villagers blame on the child. While Lulo recovers, Ryzak himself starts experiencing similar convulsions and falls into an epileptic trance. The villagers, now convinced that dark forces are at play, kill Ryzak in a frenzy of hysteria. Ovid and the child flee into the forest where a deep bond forms between them. As they retreat into the wilderness, Ovid begins to see the world through the child's untainted eyes. In doing so, he comes to understand that his own civilized life is not the ultimate way of being. He gains a profound appreciation for the power of nature, despite its mysterious and universal language being difficult to fully understand. In trying to teach the child the ways of civilization, Ovid finds that it is he who learns the most from the boy. He marvels at the child's purity and his freedom from the constraints of civilization, or the lack thereof. Ovid longs for the same freedom, unbound by the limits of language. Through his time in Tomis, Ovid comes to realize that the force of nature transcends language, and that to truly live in harmony with nature is to embrace both life and death in their awe-inspiring totality. In the end, the roles between Ovid and the child are reversed. Ovid becomes an old man, cared for by the child, and dies peacefully in his arms. His final metamorphosis is one of acceptance. He embraces his death not as an end, but as a transition to another phase of existence. At peace with surrendering his body to the primal forces of nature, Ovid reflects, "I have stopped seeing fault with creation and have learned to accept it." This return to nature allows him to pass away serenely. An Imaginary Life, Malouf's second novel, won the New South Wales Premier's Literary Award for Fiction in 1979, and was reprinted in May 1996. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe.